Anyone who's ever been in a meeting with me has probably had the experience of me challenging something in the meeting with math. Now, I have a, let's say, special relationship with math and with numbers, but I do think that this is a technique that's useful to help you examine your assumptions and to make sure that what you're doing actually makes sense. Let's just do a couple of quick examples. So let's say you are planning to do 20 creatures. You're going to do 3 gameplay variants for each creature. So this might be a soldier that has a sword or a bow or a halberd. And then you're going to do 4 faction variants for each of those creature variants. And you're planning to have a 40-hour game. So let's take these numbers and do a little bit of math with them. So 20 creatures with 3 gameplay variants. Well, that means you have 60 different creature experiences per faction, and you were planning on 4 factions. So this is 240 different creature experiences. So that's a lot, but is it too many? Well, the other thing we know is that we're planning on making a 40-hour game. So if we divide there, we get 6 different creature variations introduced into the game every single hour, or 1 new creature experience every 10 minutes. And that does seem like a lot. Now, it's possible that that's the game you're planning to make, where it's all about meeting new creatures and experiencing this constant stream of variety. But chances are it's not, and actually doing this little bit of math makes you realize that something's a little bit off. So now that you have this flag that's been raised, what do you do about it? Well, as we said, it's not necessarily wrong. There's a couple of things that are being oversimplified by this math. You're probably going to use a lot of creatures right up front just to introduce the world and the gameplay. You can actually adjust this number of experiences by adjusting any of these numbers. In this case, I would say that probably the most cost-effective thing to do would be to reduce that raw starting point number of creatures. Do you really need 20 different base type of creatures? Because you're getting 12 variations of every single one of them. Maybe that 20 number should be more like 5. But you could also reduce your number of variations. You could cut a faction. Any of these numbers being adjusted is going to change the overall number of creature experiences that you have to introduce over the course of your game. And depending on exactly the experience you're going for, it makes sense to adjust all of them, any of them, potentially none of them. The point of doing this math isn't to tell you what to do. It isn't to tell you necessarily that there's even anything wrong. It's just to bring to your attention where something is bigger or smaller than you might be expecting. The point of these exercises should be to do it quickly, to use assumptions and baselines to get to an approximation as quickly as you can, not to go for exact numbers, just to look at the broad strokes and the broad shape of something. Let's look at that through the lens of plot givers. Okay, let's say you've allocated 30,000 words for your minor subquests in your open world game. Is that enough? Is it too much? Well, the best approach to take a look at this is to, again, do some math with this. If you assume that every single quest is going to need about 10 lines of introduction and about 10 lines of wrap-up, that's not a lot, because you have to remember you have to do the back and forth with the player character, so it's really only giving the quest giver 5 lines to speak when they're giving you a quest, and then another 5 lines to tell you thank you at the end. But it's probably doable. Your average number of words per line is around 5. How many levels are you going to have? Say 10. And then how many of these minor quest givers do you need per level? For that, we need to do a little bit more. If we have a 1K by 1K level, we can do a couple of things. Let's first of all assume that we're going to do a sort of a no man's land around the outside. How big? Let's say it's pretty big, 125 meters. Now that's actually really, really big. The bog in Dragon Age Inquisition is only about 125 meters wide. So having 125 meters of no quests around the outside of your level is probably too much. But that's what we use for this example. And then that 125 meters actually probably makes sense as well for how far apart you want your quest givers to be. You want your quest givers to be 1 unit of distance apart, and that's probably makes sense as also being the unit of distance that you disallow allow content around the edges of your level. But this gives us 36 quest givers per level. Now, of course, these quest givers aren't going to be this perfect grid. They're going to be spaced around something more like this. But if we take this 36 and plug it back into our equation, this gives us a necessary budget for 36,000 words for our quest system, which is actually pretty close, but it is, again, a flag because you aren't giving yourself a lot of room to breathe here. So now that you have this flag raised, well, what do you do with this? You probably can't squeeze that number of lines per quest giver down. In fact, it probably is too low. Your number of words per line is something that you can just pull from your database. It's going to be a very consistent number. You're not going to change that. Your number of levels could change, but you're probably not going to change it for this reason. So the thing that is available to adjust is that 36 quest givers per level. And yeah, that one's really open to a lot of adjustment. That 125 meters is high, but it really is dependent upon the specifics of the level. In a level that's heavily populated, like farming, that number needs to be pretty low. Things need to be pretty close together, otherwise the level doesn't feel very good. But on the other extreme, a level like the Hissing Wastes in Dragon Age Inquisition, you don't want people this close together. You want them really far apart. You might be able to drop that number of quest givers in your level down to a handful, 5 or 6, even if the level's way bigger than this, because it's a big open desert. You don't expect there to be people around very often. And if they're there, they need to be there for a purpose. But this is actually a place where the exercise can let you down a little bit. If you adjust the context of a level to allow you to have way less quest givers in the level, it does allow you to have less quest givers, but it's going to actually adjust a different number as well. Because what you'll find is you can't have go rescue my cat or find my lost ring quests when you're meeting someone in the middle of a barren wasteland. Their quest needs to be more. It needs to be more involved, because why are they even here? So what ends up happening is, even though you can push that number of quest givers from 36 down to 4, the number of lines you need to give each quest giver needs to go up. But even still, it can still be a net savings. You can spend 100, 120 lines per quest giver and still come out ahead because the number goes down so much. And in case you're wondering, yeah, this is exactly why the hinterlands is the way that it is. Because it's this settled area, there's this natural expectation that the amount of minor content in it is very high. So that's exactly what the hinterlands is, and then it turns into this quagmire that draws people in and never lets them go, giving them quest after quest after quest. This is the nature of the actual level itself, the environs, the context of that level. And I could give a multitude of other examples that would sort of underline this point, which is that it's worth doing the math on some of these things. You usually have all the inputs, so often it's just a matter of multiplying some things together and seeing what you end up with. You don't necessarily need someone who has the facility to do this in their head in the middle of a meeting. You can do it outside of a meeting and make sure that things make sense. Because often when you do this, you realize that there's a massive oversight somewhere along the way and things just don't line up. You have way too many creature variants for the size of the game you're making. You have an amount of animation that is impossible to record even if you employed every single motion capture studio on the entire planet. Your live service game only has enough swords to hand out a new sword once every 25 hours, and that's not going to drive your reward system. You have a disk layout size that's larger than the largest available storage medium on the market by orders of magnitude, or potentially the opposite. Your math says that you have something that's only a few megabytes. That can't be right. Something's got to be wrong there too. And yes, you can absolutely use this kind of math exercise to catch combinatorial explosions before you create a feature that is virtually untestable. So my point is that the numbers are telling you something if you take the time and do the math to tease the answers out. I hope this was useful to some of you, might give you something to use in your day-to-day, or at least it gave you a peek into my weird math brain. If this was useful or entertaining, hit that thumbs up button, share it with someone else. I'll see you again soon. Thank you.